as Alicia noted, the theater is the game right now. I mean, this all the world's a stage for Donald Trump, and all the little actors are going to perform this weekend in your chamber, in your body, for him. So what do Democrats do at this point? You've got, this dangling of the possibility that Democrats assign on to some type of bill that would, at least give some form of ID or what. Are you going to fall for this, or are you going to hold the line and keep this administration on the point that ICE is out of control? You're prepared to give you everything else. You want to talk TSA? Here's the bill and the money. You want to talk about other national security interests because we're right now at war? Here's the bill and the money. But ICE on our streets, terrorizing our citizens, until you clean that up with masks off and weapons down, no cash for them. Is that the message, or how do you guys see this weekend playing out?
Well, first, let me just say I have no objection to working through the weekend. Normally, I'd be working through the weekend in Connecticut.
Right.
But, yes, we're going to hold firm because we have seen the videos, so has America, and the people of America are absolutely appalled. They're demanding reforms. And tomorrow, we're going to have a vote on a measure to fund TSA, and Republicans will be held accountable. We want to fund TSA, the Coast Guard, and FEMA. And Republicans have been objecting to a unanimous consent resolution that would pay
because that would take that off the table.
It would take it off the table.
Wouldn't even be a concern for whatever the period is.
Just as we've taken off the table the appropriations for the Defense Department, the Education Department, what we have left is simply, as you've put it so well, the question of whether we fund an agency that is out of control, needs to be reined in, lawless and reckless, dragging people out of their cars and their homes without judicial warrants, putting them in unmarked cars, masked agents with no identification. That's not America. And we need to impose this discipline. I asked Mullins during the confirmation hearings whether he would provide for judicial warrants if people, his agents, were going to break into homes. He said yes. Still, the administration is resisting legislation that would impose that condition.
Right.
So we need to hold firm, and we are going to be, as Democrats, I think, united.
The Republicans that you happen to be working through the weekend with, they have some other thoughts. This is Senator Mike Lee. Take a listen.
Given that Schumer says that Democrats aren't necessarily opposed to photo ID, would you be in favor of trimming down the Save America Act to only focus on photo ID?
If your question to me is, would I walk away from the rest of the bill and say, oh, okay, well, we got this, so never mind? No. We're going to continue to push the rest of the legislation.
Two questions. First, is the Democratic caucus in the Senate supportive of a national voter ID bill?
We support voter identification.
What does that mean?
That means when you go to vote in Connecticut, you show your driver's license.
So in 36 states, first of all, this is a trap. My question to you was a trap, Senator, and you fell into my trap.
Not for the first time.
Not for the first time. This is true. And it was a trap because the Save America Act is not about voter ID. It is actually about citizenship. But Senator Mike Lee and others took one little bit of sound that Senator Schumer said, and now they're trying to force you all into a corner about voter ID. I thought, in all my years of coming up, the voter ID argument for my Republican friends is that we need national voter ID because people are going to the polls pretending to be somebody else.
Yes.
I don't know where that's happening in America.
Well, with your little bit of political
experience,
like Michael's little bit of it, which is a lot, let me just say your question was actually a segue because this bill is not about voting by non-citizens. Voting by non-citizens is rare to the point of non-existence. It's about as likely you'll find voting by non-citizens as you will be struck by lightning tomorrow. And the bill, and the reason why Mike Lee doesn't want to abandon those other parts of it is that it is about purging voter rolls. So important to understand that what this bill will provide is states must provide personal, private information from voting rolls that will enable them to disqualify people, kick them off the voting rolls. They will show up with identification and find they have been purged from voting rolls. And on the issue of voting identification, a lot of people don't have their birth certificates, and women who do often have changed their names because they've gotten married. People find it difficult to get passports, often very costly. Military, men and women, right now fighting for our nation in harm's way, couldn't vote with their military IDs. They can access the battlefields where they're in danger. They can access military secure facilities, but they can't access the ballot box. The level of hypocrisy here has reached new heights.
Sounds like this isn't just about ID, Alicia.
I agree. Senator, I am interested in an amendment that you filed yesterday. It would require that only a Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney in the district where an alleged violation occurs can bring and direct election-related cases. Tell me why you think that's important.
I think it's important that U.S. attorneys have the authority to enforce laws that protect integrity of our voting and our ballot boxes, but not with the kinds of abuses that are contemplated by this law. And we need to protect U.S. attorneys from the kind of firing and the arrogance of power. This law is about power, and Donald Trump has so abused and distorted law enforcement. He's used it as a personal vehicle for retribution and vengeance and vanity. But the voting process is so important that I think we need to preserve the integrity of it.
Senator, I want to drill down a little bit on an aspect of this from my side of the aisle, from the Republican side of the aisle, which I look around the room, and I see a lot of stupid on this side, because if you understand how politics generally works and you understand how campaigns work, but more fundamentally how voters respond and what you do to get them to respond to turning out and showing up at the ballot box, there's a lot in this SAVE Act, as you've laid out, that hurts Republicans marginally more than it hurts Democrats. You have the Wall Street Journal board, editorial board, noting the Save America Act wouldn't turn blue states red, and it can't save Republicans from voter anger at unpopular policies. In the MAGA era, the bill could even marginally hurt the GOP. I would say more than marginally, because the compilation and the composition of the conversation that they're currently having with the voters right now tells the voters, we don't trust you, we don't like you, and we don't want you to participate in the process. So the reality is, do your colleagues on the other side, in that room of stupid, understand that what they're proposing, what Donald Trump wants them to do, will hurt them at the ballot box in their own districts?
I think at some level they do, Michael, but...
Okay, if I know I'm going to put you in a room full of bees and you're allergic to bees, would you walk into the room?
I said at some level. The level at which they are working is, to go back to your comment and your insight right at the start, it's performative. There's an audience of one. And overruling rationality here, not just on this issue, but on so many others, is Donald Trump. And what he's doing may be a self-inflicted wound, but he doesn't have to run again. And I think the reality here politically is that it is an exercise of power by the Republicans and the arrogance of power that reflects his arrogance.